Hey, what's going on there, YouTube? This is SEL0320 representing JVS. I am proud to say I'm going to be reviewing for you guys Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is a Miles Morales story. This is a hybrid story that also interweaves the Spider-Verse, where you have all these other renditions of Spider-Man in different multiple universes. I was blown away by this movie. Just to go ahead and just let you know, I think the movie is great. It is right now currently at number 2, my number 2 favorite Spider-Man movie of all time. That still reigns supreme with the Sam Raimi Spider-Man 2. That might be a nostalgia, that might change, because the reality is this film has so much rewatchability, has so many different Easter eggs, but that's not even the best thing about it. I mean, the visual immersion part of this film is unlike anything I've ever seen before. I think that, shout out to Grace Randolph for making a great reference to Paper that was made by Pixar, where it was a perfect blend of 2D stylized and then 3D animation, because that is what this is on steroids. Because what this is you taking like a comic book strip and you go through and all of a sudden you're like reading pop-ups and reading this, and then it kind of blurs to the next thing. This merges that on so many different levels. There's so many moments where I was like, is this a 3D image? Is this a focus image? Like, but it is so visceral, it's so in your face, it's so amazing, no pun intended. But they get every character right. The character models were perfect. Because the thing is, I am also a comic book collector. Suffice to say that I'm a Spider-Man fan is an understatement. Spider-Man is my second favorite superhero of all time. Number 1 is Batman, number 2 is Spider-Man. I've seen and I own every single one of the different Spider-Man things. I have a legit Spider-Man themed PlayStation 4. I have all the different Spider-Man games. I still own my Spider-Man 2. I have, let's see, Spectacular Spider-Man. I used to own the MT version of Spider-Man, the original one, John Semper for the 1990s. And like, I love the character and the richness of it. But the thing about the Spider-Verse was the very first introduction of Spider-Gwen. Spider-Man Noir was one comic that was really amazing that got reintroduced later on, and so on and so forth. And what this movie was able to do, they get the characters perfect. Like, if you know the comics, you're gonna be like looking, it's like, this is the character I've always wanted to see, and they get it to a T. And now, the biggest thing about this, for me, from the, not just a visual standpoint, but from an immersion standpoint, they have to get Spider-Man right, Peter Parker Spider-Man, and they have to get Miles Morales Spider-Man right. Now, Peter Parker, they get perfect, because the two different versions of, I don't want to spoil too much. Let's just say that they get him perfect. The ones that you've seen from the trailers, and just like what he kind of goes through, how he's looking all old and ragged, like his backstory is really interesting. The backstory of the villains in this is really interesting. The surprises of the villains in this are very interesting. And every single one of the characters has their moment. Every single one of the characters, some of them kind of whittle in here or there, but they are utilized perfectly to the point that any of them could have their own spinoff. Any of them could go and interweave with each other at their own time. They have created, this is how you make a multiverse or a universe, a cinematic universe in one movie. They succeeded. But Miles, bro, shout out to my man Jason Reynolds. Jason Reynolds made a novel called Miles Morales Spider-Man, and I recommend you go and check that out, because when you read that, read through the pages, and you start watching the character dynamics between Miles, his parents, Miles, and his world, and you know how he gets to the school that he's in, what kind of person that he is, you know, his inadequacy complex, like the things that he loves to do, like things with his uncle, like all these different kind of things, they are showcased very well in that novel. But this movie just nails it. It nails it so well, and I was like, yo, how are they doing this so perfectly? But I want to keep on track, because again, the visual effects for these are amazing, but even more so, the soundtrack and the score are equally amazing. Like, there's so many different songs. I'm like, how did you get the rights to this song? Like, how did you get this great production of a soundtrack to go through so smoothly that it goes and just translates off the page? There's even one moment in the very opening that I thought was hilarious. It was straight up like a Baby Driver moment to me, when I was sitting there watching Miles do something when he was in his room, and I was like, this is character development in like raw form, and I was like, this is just great. Like, from a cinematography standpoint, it is great visual immersion, but it's also at the same exact time interweaving with the music and with the characters. The last thing that I wanted to really bring up is the writing. The writing is great. Like, I mean, Bendis created Miles Morales. Of course, Ditko and Lee had a big byproduct of what Spider-Man is, and it takes from all those elements and just makes something so rich and visceral that you're like, if you're a Spider-Man fan, or if you're a Spider-Gwen fan, or a Ghost Spider fan, if you're a Spider-Man Noir fan, if you're a Spider-Pig fan, if you're just a fan of superhero genre in general, there's something in this movie, in somewhere, place, or form that you can pull from. And that's what I can most appreciate about this film, is that it's not just for those people that are Spider-Man fans. If you've never read a Spider-Man comic before, if you're a little kid, you've never heard even of Spider-Man, and you only know Batman, you don't know Superman, you don't know Wonder Woman, and you watch this and you're like, you're going to fall in love with these characters. You're going to fall in love with what they represent, what their ideals are. And it's like the tip of the iceberg, because the movie, I think, is only less than 2 hours, but the thing is, I was like, yo, I want more. This movie is going to make you want to go back and rewatch it all over again. I can promise you that. Voice acting, Haley Steinfeld as Spider-Gwen, nailed it. Moore did a great job as Miles Morales. Everybody played their role. I'm sitting there watching this, and I'm sitting listening to Nicolas Cage as this Spider-Man Noir. I was like, this is great. This is a great moment. And there's so much I can't tell you guys. There's so freaking much that I'm like, I have to do a spoiler review. And I think that what I'm going to do is I'm going to get the league together. I'm going to get different YouTubers, different podcasters, and different big people, and we're going to go and discuss these different Easter eggs. We're going to discuss this freaking movie because I think the movie is worth it. Easily the best animated movie this year. And yes, I know I've seen Incredibles. I've seen other movies. Definitely one of the best superhero movies this year. And it's crazy because in a year where you got like Black Panther, Infinity War, I mean, heck, Aquaman is coming out next, in like 2 weeks. But it's like, I'm looking at this and the way they did this movie is world building. It's multiverse cinematic world building. It's character dynamics that, you know, I've always wanted to see within a Spider-Man movie. There's things in the Miles Morales story that I was worried that they weren't going to get right, and they got perfect, bruh. And it's I don't know, it's masterful. It's very much so masterful. And I think that it's very possible this might end up, the more I watch this might end up being one of my favorites, period. Like, not just number 2, but might being one of my favorites, because what they were able to do with this, and there was a moment when Miles was, he was at the top of a building, and like, he jumps down. Like, at that moment, that was when I was like, I have fallen in love with this movie. And that's the thing, like, there's always a moment, like, I think in Spider-Man Homecoming, when Peter was like, it took straight from the comics, when Peter was like crying and upset, and like, he's like, come on Spider-Man, come on Spider-Man. That moment, I fell in love with the movie. In Spider-Man 2, when Spider-Man was talking to Mary Jane, and then all of a sudden, like, the freaking car goes through the window, and he's like knocked out, and then all of a sudden, like, he gets up, and he got his power. Like, that is a moment. There's so many different moments like that, but for me, when Miles was jumping down, that was a moment for me. And there's so many cameos, you guys, so many Easter eggs. You guys are not going to be disappointed by this film. 10 out of 10 for me. I know it sounds crazy, but this is a 10 out of 10 film. Hopefully you go and check it out. Hopefully y'all enjoy this review. I will be doing a spoiler review coming at you. If any of you guys that are YouTubers that check this video out, check this review out, you want to be a part of it, please let me know. We gotta go and do rounds on this, because this is worth it. Keep it locked. JVS, we ain't gonna stop. Stay tuned for a couple reviews coming out. One from Amira, and then another one for Teen Titans. For Titans, Donna Troy episode 8. Talk to you guys later. Love you guys. Spider-Man. Oh man, that was amazing.